Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Great. Just great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. We're cleaning the garage the other day, and Anna found this old Oilers hat, so I promised her I would wear it if and when Oilers won the Battle of Alberta on the podcast. So here we are on the podcast, the Oilers having won the Battle of Alberta. So you're darn right I'm going to wear it.
Bruce, we've been doing this podcast for 6 years. We've been doing the Cult of Hockey together since 2010. I think you joined the Cult of Hockey. I started the Cult of Hockey in 2007, which was at the very beginning of the Decade of Darkness plus. There's been many times, Bruce, when I hoped we would have a night like this. It's been a long time coming, but it is here, and it feels great. It feels fantastic. That was the best. And it's not stopping, Bruce. They're going to win the Cup. The Oilers are going to win the Cup. And I predicted at the start of this series, although I had a day of catastrophizing after Dreissen looked so hurt after the first game, I predicted, my headline was prediction, the Oilers will ride Supernova McDavid and beat the Flames. And it wasn't as simple as that. There were some other guys that really contributed. Leon Dreissen, first and foremost amongst them. That prediction came true against, like most people were predicting the Flames would win this series. All the NHL guys were predicting the Flames.
About 12 experts before the series that were surveyed all picked the Flames, every one of them.
You know, great players, when they come into their own, like McDavid did against the Kings, you can't stop that. You can't stop it. And McDavid couldn't be stopped. So there we go. All right, Bruce, let's do our... Go ahead, you got something?
And when he could, the Oilers couldn't be.
Anyway,
we're going to talk about McDavid more in a minute, but had a little bit more in the supporting cast department, and those guys came through in spades for Edmonton.
No. All righty. Still got a bit of a cold here. Bruce, we'll do, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast, but because it's the biggest Oilers win since 1990, maybe. There were some big wins in 2006, so.
Yes.
This is bigger. And we're going to do three good things each, no bad things, and a number. So why don't you start it off? I'll start it off because my good things, my good thing's the winning goal. Okay. And you know, and McDavid in his post-game interview said he was playing bad, and the other guys carried him. But what a goal! And it brought to mind, Bruce, the goal that Sidney Crosby scored to win the Olympics in 2010 in Vancouver.
Iggy,
because it's a play off the boards, a quick play off the boards from Dreissen. McDavid the puck shot, and McDavid goes forechecks. It's kind of not a heavy forecheck, but enough that the Flame guy just throws it up the boards quickly. They're all nervous, and Dreissen wins the battle on the boards and makes, not for the first time that night, he makes just a brilliant pass into McDavid into the slot. And as soon as he gets it, almost, McDavid doesn't wait. He doesn't do a whole lot. He just fires that puck, and it's right off the post and in the net. Initially, I was thinking, how could that go in? Because it was, it was a little bit of a high slaughter. It wasn't really in tight. But I think it was the quickness of getting that shot, just like Sidney Crosby in 2010.
Yes.
Shoot it fast before the goalie's ready. Bam, off the post, and you score a goal and you win the game. And his tremendous pumping fist celebration, which is so good to see. 2 series in a row. He must be so happy right now. So stoked.
Yeah, well, he sure seemed so in the post game.
Yeah. McDavid scores. One of the faithful for the faithful.
Yeah, that's for sure. And, he who made the play originally that caused the turnover. I thought he checked the guy's stick.
Maybe he did,
the weak pass to go up the boards. And then Leon did the puck protect thing where he drew the forechecker in on the backhand side, and then he spun around to the forehand and fed it right back to McDavid, who'd come back into the slot. And he had just enough room for sort of one step and then the perfect shot. I mean, that hit the post and went right across the goal line. It just caught inside the other post, I think. But, it was like he couldn't have caught any more post and had it all still go in. And he just put it in the perfect spot. Under Jacob Markstrom's glove was the perfect spot in this series, and the Oilers took advantage of that hole on a number of occasions, including the series-winning goal.
Glove hand. That was, Markstrom was not, he made some good saves tonight. I mean, the Oilers, with the grade A shots, by our count, we had Edmonton with 20 grade A shots and 11 subset of, so grade A shot has a 20% plus chance of going in. And, it's a pretty exclusive category, the grade A shot. Some guy could be coming down the wing and get a really hard shot from the dot. That's not a grade A shot, because that's got about a 15% chance of going in. That's a really good grade B shot, but grade A shots, these are good hard shots on net, and you're going to score 20% plus of the time, on average about 25% of the time. There's a subset of 11 5-alarm shots, and they go in 33% chance plus. And the Flames numbers, the Oilers were 20 and 11. The Flames were 12 and 7 in the same two categories. So the Oilers were the better team tonight. They were pretty dominant. Actually, they deserved to win this game, no doubt about it. Bruce, what is your good thing?
Yeah, I got to go with McDavid's faithful sidekick there, Leon Dreissen. I thought he had a fantastic game and series. It got better and better. Tonight was, I think, the best that he skated. I liked his two-way game. I didn't think he was giving up much, if anything, at the defensive end. He was cutting out passes, turning defense to offense. And he wasn't shooting much, and I'm not sure what his issue is. He didn't take that many face-offs either. And he didn't win that many, just 3 of 9. Although he did win a key one on a penalty kill when no one else could win one. Just 2 shots on net, both hard drives set up by McDavid, but it was Leon who was doing the setting up in this game, passing. He must have made 30 good passes in this game, and probably 12 of them were to McDavid. And he just has this innate sense of knowing exactly where Connor's going to be, and the puck comes to him and bang, he just one touches it. Sometimes it's a hard pass off the wall and he finds McDavid at the far blue line. Other times it's a outlet pass where he's the winger on the boards and he makes the 6-footer and it catches him in full flight leaving the zone. And anytime you get it to McDavid in full flight, it's a good day, And he just had the full, like, how many good backhand passes? They were raving about it on the broadcast. 4 or 5 absolutely sweet backhand passes, and they didn't all result in goals, but you know what? 4 of them did. He had 4 more assists in this game. Leon has just been on a phenomenal playmaking role throughout the series, with 4 apples, including the first assist on the game winner, which this was the first time the Oilers won an overtime game in their last 7 tries. The last time they actually won a game, it was David Desharnais also accepting a pass from Leon off the right wing boards and burying a shot off the just in off the left post. And it was anyway, a little bit in common with that one, but I just thought the big German just raised his game to another level, and he owns the Calgary Flames, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Bruce, that first, in some ways, the first pass was the deepest. The first pass was the best because they're down 2-0, right? And I was starting to think, oh, geez, it's just not their night.
Yeah.
But he made it. I call it the low-high pass.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of the most dangerous plays in hockey because the goalie's way back in his net. Because he's got to be, when the forward's low below the goal line with the puck, who knows what's going to happen. So he just made an absolutely wonderful backhand low-high to Nurse, who just he just harpooned it in, like right off the pass.
Great shot too.
Great pass, great shot by Nurse,
Mm-hmm.
And then it's 2-1, and the Oilers are right back in it. Right back in it. His on the power play, the third goal the Oilers got, his pass to Nugent Hopkins was also really strong. It was kind of back against. It was a kind of a back pass and just right on the money, and Nuge put it on net.
Kind of bounced to Hyman, and he was able to chisel it over the line.
Yeah, and he set up Bouchard with a nice pass too. So.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and you got the great playmakers. I mean, he had the only one that was a second assist was the Hyman goal, and there he actually passed it to Nugent Hopkins, who shot. So he set up the shooter in each of the 4 goals, but this one it involved an extra player for the finish. And otherwise, he passed and somebody else shot it in, including the tying goal by Evan Bouchard and the winner by McDavid, of course. That he was. Teed up both guys in good shooting spots.
Okay, my second good thing, Bruce, was the call. Mm-hmm. And initially I was thinking, how the hell did they call that goal back? I was looking at it again, and when it went in, I just thought, well, that's a goal. Like, that looks like, how many goals have they scored like that where they barrel at the net, and didn't LA score someone, they just barrel at the net and they put it in. And here's another one, the other team just jams it in the net any way you can, and that's a goal. Mm-hmm. I'm watching it, and then it's called back, and it's not a goal, and I'm still thinking, like, what the heck? What the hell? How was that not a goal? And then there was finally the one replay where it is patently clear that this play looks exactly like Lionel Messi sticking out his foot to tap in the soccer ball over the line. It's a clear kicking motion. He gave it the old Cristiano Ronaldo, the old Wayne Rooney. He kicked the puck in the net. There is no doubt about it. He side-footed it in. Mm-hmm. That's a kicking motion. That is not a goal. That was the correct call. And I give credit to Kevin Bieksa, and is it Jennifer Botterill?
Jennifer Botterill nailed it.
She's outstanding, actually.
So yeah, I like her. And so too did Ron McLean when he compared it to the kick save that Markstrom made off of Evander Kane, where he kind of had to do the extra little bit to reach his foot back to just get a little tiny piece of it. And that's all Coleman did. Like, the argument, I guess, is that it wasn't a distinct kicking motion. It was a subtle kicking motion. It was a kicking motion, though. I agree. And I think that I saw it right away, and I thought, there's no way he just spat that just directly in off his skate. He thrust his skate forward, and smart, and he almost got away with it, but too bad he didn't.
Too bad. For once, a call like that goes for the Oilers. Like a big, huge call in a big game goes for the Oilers. That's pretty rare. And, the best thing about it, Bruce, like from a Schadenfreude point of view, is that puck was going in the net, I'm pretty sure. I think it would have made it
done anything. It probably would have dribbled in, yeah.
It would have. And the only reason that wasn't possibly the winning goal is because he decided to kick it in. And oh boy, that was very sweet, Bruce.
Flames back and shot it right through Smith. Got it under his arm, and Smith got a piece of it, but it looked like it was going to dribble in, and then it was in, and then as soon as I saw the first replay, I thought, geez, I wonder if they're going to challenge that. And it turned out, I think it was just a league call. Nobody challenged anything. It's just the league wanted to get it right. And ultimately, I agree with you, they did.
Gutsy call by the NHL. And I was mainly mad at Smith and Nurse on the play. Like, I'm thinking, come on, Darnell. Like,
yeah, that wasn't.
Don't let him do that. Don't let him get that shot. And then Smith, come on, make the save. Like, it was a grade A shot, but it's not. It's more like a 20%er. Than a 25. Like,
I kind of shoveled it at him, and it went through.
Yeah, make the save, and it wasn't Smith's best game of the series, put it that way. And so I was a little frustrated with him at that moment, and I'm reviewing the play to figure out who made mistakes on it, and then I go back to the TV, and I see, oh, they're reviewing it. I was surprised. So, but you said you saw it right away.
On the first replay, yeah. When the first one in, I saw Smith and at least one other Oiler kind of raise their hand and say, "Hey," and just sort of draw their attention to it. And so they saw the same subtle kicking motion that I saw, I guess. Subtly distinct.
The old Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, Bruce.
There you go.
Just anytime it comes up in the future, just say that to a Flames fan. Yeah, he gave it the old, and then insert a soccer name there. He gave it the old
Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah, he gave it the old Robert
goal
Lewandowski.
Poacher hanging around, just a little touch, and it's in the net. And in soccer, you're allowed to do that.
The old Harry Kane. They will hate it. They will hate it, but it will shut him up because he did. It was that kind of great little soccer move, right? Like where you just open your foot up and give it the old tap in with your boot, and it was a very good play by Coleman. Just kind of screwed his team out of a goal, so even better. Bruce, what is your second good thing?
My second good thing, I'm going to go with Zach Hyman. I thought he had a wonderful game tonight. And I thought he was really good right from the get-go in the first period. And I thought it was a gutsy but probably right move by Jay Woodcroft to promote him to the big line with McDavid and Dreissen. For one thing, McDavid, I think, was struggling a little bit tonight. And it just brought all their sort of top players on the night together. McDavid got max support with Leon playing out of his mind on one side, Hyman playing out of his mind on the other. And Evander Kane, who to his credit came on a little bit later in the game, he was really struggling too. After the second period, he had 10 shot attempts and one of them was on net. So he kind of got pushed down to the Nugent-Hopkins line with Yamamoto, and they held their own. And in the meantime, Hyman, he just kept getting the job done, but he did it. He earned a primary assist or secondary assist on the Nurse goal, a bit of a cheap one. Well-deserved primary on the second Oilers goal, and then he scored the third one himself on the power play. And he wound up the night with a very nice stat line of 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, plus 4. In 23 minutes and 38 seconds, he saw a lot of ice time. And he was just all over the puck, David. And just time and again, it seemed like he was surging into the Flame zone with the puck and driving it to the net. And, he had 7 shots on net tonight, 4 hits. Including, I thought it was the hit of the night when Elias Lindholm thought he had Hyman lined up in the middle of the ice, and Hyman saw him coming, and I think Lindholm got the worst of it. It was a wicked collision. They basically both hit each other, and Hyman came out on top, I think literally and figuratively on that one. And I loved his determination and drive in this game, Zach Hyman, and he had real top-notch results to go with it.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Toronto Maple Leafs. He has become an amazing player for the Oilers. So dogged, He brings he's got a high level of skill, but he brings to mind like all other dogged Oilers in the past, like Stan Weir and Brett Callaghan and Craig McTavish. But and there's Ryan Smith. These guys.
Those are pretty good comparables.
Just the guys who just go for
it. Grind, but they can also do something with the puck at the end of the play. Smith's
probably the best comparable, but Hyman's a bit better at the puck protect than Smith. But he's just such a dogged player. It's funny, Bruce. We said McDavid had McDavid said he had a bad game. Well, before the winning goal, he was in on 9 grade A shots. He made 10 major contributions to grade A shots this game. He didn't have a bad game before. He was in the middle of all kinds of plays. But in the earlier on, it was kind of Leon who was involved in plays, but not the driver. It was reversed. It was Leon that was the driver, and McDavid was kind of in on the play.
How many plays was Leon in on this game?
Give me 1 second here, and I will tell you that, Bruce.
Quite a few.
He was in on 12 grade A shots for the Oilers, 12 grade A shots, which is a remarkable total, right? Like that's
phenomenal.
It's more than I think on average, McDavid this season was about 6 per game, and Dreissen was 5.5. So 12 is more than double his average for his best games of the year. I'm going to say Leon's at 90. He's getting into the 90% back to his former self. He was making some spin moves with the puck that he had been unable to make earlier in the series, and including in the last game. Like I noticed, like, that's his bread and butter, is spinning on the boards with the puck. And he was able to do that tonight fairly freely for the first time. I think he's not 100% yet, but with these extra days off, Bruce, and this is huge, that the Oilers won and Colorado lost against St. Louis last night. That was magic, because days rest in the playoffs right now is huge for the Edmonton Oilers, because if it's going to be the Avs against the Oilers, two fantastic hockey teams that are very equal. But the team that has the better health and the more rest, I think, has an advantage.
Well, it'll be the Oilers with the more rest, and if that series happens to go 7, if St. Louis can hold court at home, then they'll have to go. Even if Colorado wins Game 7, it'll be a fairly well rested Edmonton team that they'll be facing, and they'll probably have a quick turnaround. If they go 7, they probably have 1 day off and have to go right back at it. Either way, the Oilers have a few players that could probably use a few days breather, and it's especially important that since they won 7 games in the first round, that you don't want to sort of have another long series, and eventually that's going to catch up with you. And so finishing off the Flames, gotta love it, in 5 is almost the best possible outcome.
Indeed. Indeed. Now, this wasn't like a Battle of Alberta, like was like a huge physical contest. Like, the previous battles of Alberta in the 80s. 80s hockey was just full of fights.
91 was brutal.
Often. And 91 was just hitting. This one was more skill. It was the Oilers' skill, like kind of like, what was it, 87 or 88? What was the year Gretzky scored that one? Was that 88?
That was 88, Game 2 in Saddle Dome.
This was more like that, where the skill of the Oilers really took over, dominated the series, and the Flames couldn't match it. I mean, the Flames' top line looked dangerous, but they were nowhere near as dangerous as the Oilers' top line. I mean, it's not even close. It was an order of magnitude in difference in terms of how lethal they were in terms of scoring goals. So, all right, my next good thing, Bruce, is Duncan Keith. So the Edmonton Oilers will officially give up, I think, a second-round draft pick now.
Nope, not yet. They have to get to the finals for that to kick in.
Oh, okay, good.
So
good.
They have to win 3 playoff rounds.
Well, they're going to give up a second.
That's fine. I'm hoping they do.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, controversial trade. I've always contended you cannot judge this trade. Said it right from the day I think the trade was made. You can't judge this trade until you see how the season plays out. And I'm gonna call the trade a win at this point. Okay. A win for the Oilers in every way, including the contract price, the amount they paid for him, because the whole idea of bringing in Duncan Keith was to have an experienced defenseman who can help you lead you through the playoffs and come through when he's needed. Duncan Keith did that. He hasn't been a perfect player in the playoffs. Wasn't a perfect player this game. He was part of the sequence of pain on the first goal against, where Bouchard turns it over behind the net. McDavid is puck watching in front of the net and doesn't see he gets tricked by the clever pass of, look off pass of the Calgary Flames player and doesn't cover his man. And Keith's stuck in the corner because he was expecting Bouchard to win it and relay it to him. So he was not quick enough to the front of the net. So not a perfect game tonight. And there was a few other mistakes as well. But Bruce, he commanded the game, I thought. When he had the puck on his stick, he was directing traffic. He was making good plays. Lots of defensive battles won. Where he was flashing that stick. I mean, he
Yes.
saved the goal against, where it was when the puck went over the net and then came quickly out front. That shot that went quickly out
The
front, if he
second
didn't
shot.
get his
Yeah.
second shot, that was going in, and he stopped it. So he played. What did Duncan Keith play tonight? 25-17, which is the most of any Oilers defenseman. So they counted on Duncan Keith more than any other Oilers defenseman, including at even strength. I think he's helped Evan Bouchard a lot in terms of settling down, playing calm hockey, smart hockey. They're both doing it. They're both playing great. Bouchard scored a great goal. So the trade was a win. Duncan Keith is helping the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs, which is exactly what they needed from him, and he's doing it. So by that criteria, I'm good with it, and I'm good with the player. I hope he can keep it up for 2 more rounds.
No, his play's been all right for sure, and he had some good defensive deflections of dangerous pucks tonight, and some good outlet passes and some good in zone. His stick, he's so quick with the stick, eh? That's the one thing that stands out to me about him is the puck will come to him, and he'll just make a quick thrust, and he never whiffs on it, and he usually will just chip or just thrust it along in a good direction, and either out of the zone or into the corner, or he usually gets a big chunk of the puck, and he gets it early. Like he makes early. It doesn't take him a lot of time to make a decision, and if it's a puck battle, he gets that stick in there quick. And so, for a guy of his age, he's still got that kind of quickness with his hands, which is good. I'm probably never going to be totally happy that they paid the full contract on him. I think that was a misread of the market by Holland. Yeah. And even if the player was a good acquisition, I just think that it was an overpay. But I'm accepting that he's played an important role on the team, and I think he's played an important role in the development of one Evan Bouchard that may pay dividends for years to come.
Yeah, I just think in the playoffs, listen, Ken Holland was onto something, I think, with the idea that you have to have more experienced players. And the whole graybeard concept, which has been mocked by some people, probably mocked by us both, me, you, at some point during the year. I just think it's the right idea. It's proven out to be the right idea. It's taken this team one step further than they've gone before. They've showed remarkable resilience, Bruce, including in this game coming back. Last game coming back after Smith's horrible goal against. It's not like these players are perfect players. They're not. But I do think there is something about this team which is markedly different than any other team in the McDavid era, is their resilience, their bounce back. You can't, like, they get down 1 or 2 goals, they're not out. And you just get that sense this team can come back. They did it all year. They had to. So they have these veterans, and that now includes Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Darnell Nurse. Like these are veteran players, grizzled veteran players by NHL standards. And but it's also Duncan Keith and Cody Ceci and Derek Ryan and Zach Hyman and Evander Kane. And I just wanted to add one thing about your point about the lineup change that Woodcroft made. Kane, I thought, was out of. There was a screw up, and I don't know who screwed it up between Draisaitl and Kane on the first goal against. They were both on the same side of the ice, both wingers.
Yep.
And Draisaitl was kind of with Mangiapane, but it's not really his man. It's McDavid's man.
Yes.
McDavid's covering the slot. But Draisaitl realizes, we're both here. Someone's got to go to the other side. So he charges over there. But I think it was Kane who was supposed. Draisaitl was first. At least Draisaitl was first back on that wing. Kane's got to read that and get to the other side of the ice and be there. So this was part of the confusion. that happened on that first goal against to some extent. I don't know if it had any impact on the goal against, and it didn't have a major impact on the goal against, but Kane was a little bit off this game.
Yes, I
And
agree.
he had a baby.
Yeah.
Had a baby, I should say.
I
Just his
said, I
girlfriend had a
said to
baby.
Anna halfway through the game, I said, Evander Kane looks like a guy who hasn't slept for 2 nights,
Yeah,
and it's probably pretty close to accurate.
yeah.
You know,
So his girlfriend
with
had a
all
baby.
that.
I don't know where she is. Is she in Vancouver or California? I don't know where she is.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, to tell you the truth. Probably Vancouver, I think, is his home territory, but
Yeah,
um, that's where he went when that great big controversy broke out, where the Sharks wound up ending his contract, was because he came home to Vancouver without the proper papers. Um, so anyway, I'm guessing she's there, but it's not much of a guess to suggest that Evander Kane's had a pretty hectic last 48. Let's call it 52 hours, so we can include Game 4, where he scored 2 goals, and Game 5, and all the time in between was surely not normal for him.
yeah. So anyway, on that first goal there was a bit of a mix up there. I don't anyway. Bruce, we are now at your third good thing.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bison King. Yes, the Puljujärvi. I wore the Bison King shirt that my wife got for me some months ago. Tonight, I'm not big on the Oilers paraphernalia normally, but I put it on today, and I said, he hasn't scored for so long. He needs some kind of a boost here. I'm going to put on the shirt, maybe he'll score. And wouldn't you know it, he scored. But more than scoring, I thought he had a very strong game, and certainly he had quite dominant possession and shot time. The Oilers outshot the Kings or the Flames 8-2 while he was on the ice. Thought he played physical. I thought he skated well. He had one good chance on a give and go play with Hyman where he walked in alone, um, tried to deke Markstrom, but got turned aside. And then a few minutes later, it was he driving to the net who cleaned up the greasy rebound of Hyman's shot and tapped it into the open net to tie the game at 2-2. And he actually got a fair bit of ice time in the regular rotation. Played 10:38 tonight. Not a huge amount, but not single digits, which is what we've likely seen most of from him lately. And 3 shots on net, one nice big hit, blocked a shot. And I just thought he had a real strong looked more like himself than we've seen for a while. Frankly, I think he too is coming around from some sort of physical issue and starting to get better. I thought he got better by the game right throughout the series, and this was his best game of the 5.
Yeah, he did look better tonight, Bruce. Although I have to say I'm pretty patient with Puljujärvi because I'm a Puljujärvi fan. You know, there was a lot of smack talk against Puljujärvi. There
Oh,
has been for some time, and
hmm
I was on Oilers Now, and it came up with Bob, and it was about a month ago, I think, and I just said I defended him. I said I think he's a top 6 forward,
I
but
heard
he
you,
but
and
he
you're
he
right.
has he hasn't been in the playoffs. Like honestly, he hasn't been a top 6 forward. He's been playing he's been struggling to make an impact in games,
Yeah, he hasn't
and
been a
and
set score for sure.
yeah, and he hasn't been winning battles physically. Like he hasn't been able to push people off pucks or pop pucks as much
hmm
as he usually does. And I'm like, so the Oilers were down 2-0 when he got his break in.
hmm
Kulak pushed it up, and I think it was Fogel who put it over to Puljujärvi, if I'm not mistaken, not Hyman. I think on that
Oh
play.
yes,
Anyway,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, it
so
was.
so
It was
Puljujärvi went in and he didn't score, and I was mad. I just thinking, come on, man,
you got to
you just
bury
never
him.
score. You
Got to
never
bury
score. Like
him.
score, because they were down 2-0, and I thought
Yeah,
this was their best chance probably
yeah. Or
up
was it
until
best?
that point of the
Right.
game. And you got to score. Like we need a goal, and you didn't score. So
hmm
and then of course, they get the goal where, Nurse scores, and then he gets the next one. And I was so happy for him because even his longtime kind of supporter, such as me, was kind of
hmm
getting really frustrated with him. So good for him. Way to go. Yes,
Yeah,
Paul
that
Harvey
was a huge
for
goal.
a few minutes.
Huge goal.
Bruce, what is your number?
Yeah, yeah, we're going to bypass bad things altogether and Battle of Alberta win. I mean, what's bad? Um, and there were a couple of iffy things that I'll have to bring up in the player grades. But there was my number. Uh, I'm going to avoid the temptation to say 5-1, which is now the official score in all-time battles of Alberta. And I think it's the score of some other thing that some people bring up from time to time. But all-time battles of Alberta, it's now Edmonton 5 series wins, Calgary 1.
Good avoidance, Bruce. I full marks for that avoidance. You never want to bring up the fact that the Oilers have won 5 cups and the Flames have only won one. And then
That's
it's
what
five.
it was.
Oh, you don't want to mention that, or this is 5-1 in Battle of Alberta. It's like,
Well,
it's not good. It's not good for the
yeah, but
prop.
that's not my number.
Okay.
And I'm not even going to mention directly. I believe the 4 all-time Stanley Cup records that were set in this series. I mean, every game but one, I think, featured a new all-time Stanley Cup record, some feat that had never been accomplished before. And uh, on the team front, there was fast goals. Calgary got 2 quick ones in game 1, and tonight they set the record for 4 goals by both teams in 71 seconds. It was just boom, 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 boom. But I'm going to go with 17 as my number, which is the number of points scored by Leon Draisaitl in this series. And I will make oblique reference to the all-time record that he did set, which is 5 and counting 3+ point games in a row. Until this series, nobody had ever had more than 3 in a row, 3-point games. People like Wayne Gretzky had done it. Mario Lemieux had only ever had two such games in a row in his entire career, the great Mario Lemieux. And yet, Leon Draisaitl, in 5 out of 5 games in this series, 3 points, 3 points, 4 points, 3 points, 4 points. 17 points in a 5-game series. And that leaves him just slightly short of the record for most points in the series, which remains in the hands of the nifty Rick Middleton of the Boston Bruins, who in a 7-game series against Buffalo Sabres in 82-83 had 19 points. And hot on his heels is Wayne Gretzky of Edmonton Oilers, of course, who against Chicago in a 6-game series had 18. And in third place is the aforementioned Mario Lemieux, who had 17 points in a 6-game series against Washington in 92. Well, now you can tie with Mario Leon, who had 17 points in a 5-game series. And you know what? You look at this list, and almost every series listed on it of guys that had 14 or more points, they all played 6 or 7 games, and only Gretzky, he had 15 points in a 5-game series against LA, and 14 in a 5-game series against Calgary. Well, Leon has gone above even what the unsurpassable one Wayne Gretzky was able to do at his absolute peak, 17 points. And this was playing at less than 100%. It's unbelievable, David. And
it really is.
And along the way, he got multiple assists in every game, so 5 in a row games with multiple assists. I'm not sure if that's a record, but it wouldn't shock me if it's really close to one. And he had just the 2 goals. He scored in games 1 and 2. And then he just went on this assist binge. He had 2 assists in each of those games, and then 4 assists all in the second period in game 3. New NHL record, broke a 92-year-old record. 3 assists in game 4, and then another 4 tonight to cap off the series. And just he wasn't shooting much, and I'm not sure what's going on there. Like, he only had 2 shots tonight. He only had 1 last game, but pass, as we mentioned earlier. And those passes were producing results. I mean, Oilers scored 25 goals in this series, and Leon was in on 68% of those goals. I mean, just phenomenal. So that's the number I'm going to pick out of the smorgasbord of available numbers from this series.
I think it's the injury that's stopping him from shooting much, Bruce. He's he was having trouble connecting on the puck, period, initially. Yep. And then finally he got off his patented trademark executioner shot last game, but he's just having a little bit of trouble firing that puck still. I think it's just the torquing motion. Must be hard on his ankle. But that ankle's getting better, man. It's such great news because The Oilers would not have won this series if Leon hadn't trended up in terms of his health.
Oh, that's for
I
sure.
don't think. And he did, though. He did. And hopefully Nurse can do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Although it seems like a little bit of a different issue. It might not get better. Like, who
I'm
knows what it
hearing
is?
core body injury that's going
Like
to
a
need
groin?
surgery. Possibly a hernia.
Oh,
It's going to need surgery after the season, but I mean, when you hear stuff, I mean, who knows? Sometimes there's a whiff of truth to it, and sometimes it's somebody else who's speculating, just like we are, what they think they're diagnosing. But I heard from one pretty good source that he's probably going to need some surgery after the season, and so whatever that is, it's not going to go away before then.
wasn't it
So,
Saravalli who said that? I mean, I think
yeah, I put
reported.
yes, it was Frank Saravalli, and that's a
Yeah,
very, very reliable source
yeah.
indeed. And so I thought Darnell got a little better as the series went along. Sure, nice to see him slam home that shot from the high slot tonight. And uh, but he and Leon both, who basically missed all the practices for the Oilers throughout the series, will both benefit from what should be at least 3 days off now, maybe four.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see Leon start to practice again, which would probably be well, he doesn't seem to need it, so I'll just shut up. Uh
Yeah, no kidding.
Bruce, my number is related to Draisaitl and McDavid. They're now Draisaitl is now tied with McDavid. So as McDavid has gone supernova, like it's like a solar system with two suns, Bruce. Those exist, do they not?
Mhm.
And both of them, I don't know if this has ever happened, but both have gone supernova at the same time. And I don't know if that's ever happened. You might have an idea about that as in your. Wouldn't if one sun went supernova might engulf the other sun and destroy it?
Or the shock wave sometimes makes stuff happen at nearby stars, so there is sometimes a chain reaction, but these
All
guys
right,
are
well,
kind of going off together, aren't they?
and they're tied for the lead in playoff scoring now. Leon's come from behind and tied him. They're both at 26, and they both have 7 goals and 19 assists in
Wow.
12 games. So that's amazing for Leon to be injured and to tie McDavid, who's just playing at like a level he's never played before. Um, if Leon gets any more healthy, like look out. And I do, Bruce. I do think they're gonna win the Stanley Cup. I think I've been fairly consistent saying they can get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I've had a few moments where I've questioned that during the season,
Hmm.
but I think I've been fairly consistent thinking they can get to the Stanley Cup finals. And I certainly question that with the goaltending. Like that started to get me down, like it did everybody else.
Hmm.
But they're on that path. You get these superstar players um, who are that much better than everybody else, and they can do magical things in the playoffs. They can take over. We've seen it ourselves. Hey, we saw it with Chris Pronger in 2006. Chris Pronger picked
Hmm.
up that team, put it on its back, and took it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And we saw it with
Oh,
Mark
and
Messier.
Rolson and Fernando Pisani and
Yeah. I know
but
everyone's,
Pronger was the lead horse.
and I don't. Sorry, I don't want to diminish what you're saying or what they
Right.
accomplished, like other players. But it was Chris Pronger, and it
Hmm.
was Mark Messier, and it was Wayne Gretzky, and and because it was a dynasty, there was lots of players who were actually
Hmm.
fantastic. There's no one in the league as good as Connor McDavid. It's a travesty if he doesn't win um, the the Hart Trophy, which he probably won't. It's a travesty, and people should be embarrassed about that. But he will. He's going to win. He's going to win the Stanley Cup. He's going to win the Conn Smythe, and Leon Draisaitl is going to be right by his side the whole way. That's my prediction. I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you talk about side by side supernovas. I mean, the best super duo of players that they remind me of maybe the most is Bobby Orr and Phil Esposito with the 70 and 72 Boston Bruins, a
Yeah,
high scoring team. And of course, Orr played a different position, but you said years and years ago, before McDavid even got drafted, that he reminded you as Bobby Orr playing center. And I've always kind of looked at him a little bit in that lens. And I've always thought, that's a really good take. Like he's just simply a superior skater to anyone else in the league. No matter what position he plays, he's going to dominate the game with his skating and his just ability to make plays that'll pull you out of your seat.
Yeah.
And Esposito was less the spectacular player, but man, was he ever productive. I mean, he just kept pouring pucks on net and in the net, and a good playmaker and a horse, right? And a power center. And I don't mind the comparison between him and Leon. Of course, Phil won 6 scoring championships, and Leon's only got 1, so he's got some ways to go. But in terms of their interaction on the team, of course, they played on the same devastating power play with the Bruins, and they played lots of time together at even strength. And when they were both on their game, Boston was some tough to beat. Oh,
Yeah, they really were. It's the fluidity of McDavid and the fluidity of Orr, and then the quick hands, the brilliant hands, right? That like this is what they have in common. And I agree with you. Like Phil Esposito was such a fantastic hockey player. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the NHL history.
mm-hmm.
Um, just such a dominant force on the ice, and Leon is as well right now. I mean, Joe Thornton is the other guy that he often gets compared to, and very similar. Yager's a very similar player. These great big guys who can puck protect and get off shots, hard shots on net. They're that's what you're looking for when you're drafting a center.
Golden.
And thank goodness the Buffalo Sabres wanted Sam Reinhart, not Leon Draisaitl, because he's the perfect running mate for Connor McDavid. So, alrighty, Bruce, you got the game grades, I guess, eh?
Yes, I do. I haven't even started them yet, but kind of power through those and do so happily. And then I was on the schedule to do Game 6 as well, but guess what? There ain't no Game 6. This series is over.
Over.
And the Oilers have taken care of the Flames. Not quite a sweep, but they did kind of sweep the last 4 games after a very disconcerting, let's call it, opening game. And they got it with, McDavid, obviously, but Draisaitl was actually in many ways the star of this series. And guys like Zach Hyman scored in every single game a goal. Zach Hyman got 6 goals in this series after having 5 goals in his entire playoff career before he came to Edmonton. And Evander Kane scored 5, and they really were bringing the offense, and they had a few key guys that were doing it. But you know what? Even the great dynasty Oilers of yester century, were really 5 guys that were doing by far the bulk of it, and then the supporting cast would chip in here and there. And on this team, I think there's 5 forwards that you can clearly single out as being the drivers and the producers. And so,
yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Ryan McCleod, actually, just to do an extra little.
Yeah,
it's kind of overlooked, but they're throwing him out there in all situations consistently as a center. He's playing third line center and he's getting the job done. I mean, he's playing strong two-way hockey. He's fast. He's getting more confident with the puck. He's hitting people now and then. So he's, it's in such a crucial role, especially with Draisaitl not able to play center defensively. I think, they can't have those hard minutes on his body covering down low. So they needed someone to step up. They needed Nuge to step up as the second line center and him as the third line center. They both did so, and they did it with the top marks. Nuge is just playing the best hockey of his career, and so is McLeod. So good for both of those guys.
Yeah, McLeod was all over the ice tonight, and they were commenting on him regularly in the broadcast. But he played almost 15 minutes in this game. A little bit on the penalty kill, none at all on the power play because the Oilers only had one, and they scored before the second unit would ever have gotten out there. But so most of those were tough 5-on-5 minutes. And other than getting stomped in the face-off dot to the tune of 11%, Mcleod held his own, I thought, and then some in this game. And according to Natural Stat Trick, he had, this one jumped off the page at me, 4-0 on high danger chances.
Yeah.
So the Oilers were, doing, and just pretty good shot shares. I mean, 10-2 in shots on goal. I mean, those are real good results. And what it means is that Calgary wasn't getting a whole lot against them. Whether our shots went in or not, they weren't giving up anything.
Alrighty, well, go St. Louis. Go St. Louis. Take it to 7, man.
Maybe with the extra couple of days off, they can decide that this would be a good time to sign Jay Woodcroft and staff to a 3 or 5 year deal as coaches. I think those guys have really made the case now, haven't they?
They sure have. They sure have.
If they come in and pick the team up from a sort of losing position and a tough schedule to make the playoffs and sort of make it in a walk in the end. But now they've won 2 playoff series, and we're actually going to get a divisional banner out of this, whatever else happens this year. There wasn't a conference format, it's divisional format. So there'll be a brand new orange banner at Rogers Place next year, at least one.
There's always been a little bit of a cloud over the McDavid era until now, Bruce.
Yep.
And it's related to a couple things, but both of them related to the playoffs, not making the playoffs.
Right.
Not succeeding in the playoffs when you get there. And McDavid himself not bringing his A game in the playoffs. All of that's changed this year. They've won these 2 series. And I'm not saying they're playing with like house money now, but it's changed the vibe around the franchise, I think, considerably, this series victory. And I just think it's been kind of unsettling. When the Oilers looked like they were going to lose to the Kings, there's like the typical comments, McDavid can't get out of town, Edmonton fast enough, from this, that, and the other person. So that narrative is a little harder for people to cling on to as much as they will want to cling on to it, and including some Oiler fans who don't like Ken Holland and the current management. They want to see them go. But this was a huge win for the franchise in a lot of ways. They'll sell a lot of tickets in a fairly tough economy, and it's changed the vibe of the franchise.
Sorry, I frequently mention Jay Woodcroft, but I mean, this all goes on the record of Ken Holland as well. And I mean, he's promised the team would be, he wanted to bring him into the hunt every year and, give him a chance to win every year. And this year they've seized that chance to win 2 series. At least one of the midseason or trade deadline acquisitions he's picked up has helped the team. And a number of the guys that he's brought in as free agents, like Cody Ceci and Zach Hyman. Of course, Vander Kane is mid-season, controversial signing, but in terms of, I'm just trying to judge him on what he's doing on the ice.
Yeah.
And I mean, he brings stuff that the Oilers didn't have and likely needed. And so, some of those bets have worked out, and they're not all going to, and they're never all going to. Even Julien Brisebois makes mistakes once in a while. So I know there's naysayers out there that just don't like Holland or anything that he does, and sort of that, whatever the team accomplishes, it's because of what he inherited when he came here. And there's some truth in that. But I mean, he's supporting cast players that weren't here last year when the Oilers lost to Winnipeg and didn't have enough goals, didn't have enough offense to get through that series. Well, that same core group now has enough goals on the perimeter of the main guys to get 25 in 5 games against Calgary Flames, who are a very strong defensive team with a Vezina Trophy finalist in the net. So clearly they've taken a big step forward.
It's kind of hard to doubt Holland. I'm going to suggest, for a couple of reasons, that the things he's preached, he's done, and the things he's done have now panned out. I mean, he's preached patience from word go. It wasn't talking about whatever else, heavy hockey or whatever else, all the other themes. You just preach patience. And it worked with Mike Smith this year, being patient with Smith when everyone else had lost patience. And he also preached continuity and bringing in experienced players. He's done all those things, and it's working out. It's working out pretty well. Now, Chiarelli, for all the things he got wrong, did lay the groundwork with some great draft picks. I mean, McLeod, Yamamoto, Evan Bouchard, Jesse Puljujärvi. These players all contributed to this win tonight. Now, some of them were high picks,
right?
But they still have to make the right high. You can get the wrong high pick. You can get that wrong. Teams often do.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lott was here when he came, but he's the things that Holland values.
Mm-hmm.
I think have demonstrably led to the Oilers being a better team, especially in the playoffs. So I give him credit for that.
Yeah, well, patience with the young players. I mean, every guy that you mentioned there, Yamamoto, Puljujärvi, Bouchard, McLeod, these are guys that, they just weren't overnight successes. They didn't just come in and take the league by storm like some of the very high first-round picks. And they've, I guess, Puljujärvi does fall in that category, and they've needed to be patient with him, and we'll see how that turns out in the long term. But the fact is, they do have at least part of the supporting cast are young players that they drafted and developed within the organization. And even as Ken Holland, I don't think drafted any of those guys that I just named. He was part of the development process for all of them. And you can disagree. I mean, people last year were saying Evan Bouchard should be in there every game. And maybe they were right. But Evan Bouchard, over the time, has blossomed and really started to come into his own. I thought he was splendid in this game, frankly. He scored a nice goal to tie it at 4-4. Yeah. Big goal.
Bruce, let's leave it there for tonight. Thanks for talking.
All right. And thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll be back for podcasting in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, a special shout out to
amazing.
Some people have been listening to this podcast, Bruce, I think, from the start. And a special shout out to those members of the faithful, because many people have been reading the Cult of Hockey since the start. And it's been a long time coming, this kind of playoff success. It's a long and dreadful decade of darkness, very difficult to endure. But we did it. We were there grading every darn game and evaluating every move. And it's just nice to be here where we are.
Yeah, well, we've graded every single game since I've been with the Cult. We haven't missed one. And that's, some years it's been 48 or 56 or 71 or whatever, but most years 82. And lately we've even got a few bonus playoff games, and that's a better part of 1,000 games over just my time, and more than during yours. So that's that's a lot of writing, it's a lot of reading, and I share your appreciation of the readership and the viewer or listenership of our podcast as well.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.